Hey, School Zone audience, Matt coming at you. I am here in sunny Houston, Texas. As you can see, if you're watching on YouTube, I'm actually sitting in the car. It's about 94 degrees here, but I've been in and out of a bunch of schools today in preparation for the end of the school year, and was able to fit in a couple minutes with a guy that I think you're really going to be excited to listen to and learn more from, Mr. Dave Schenone, the CEO and founder of Read for My School. Dave actually ran into one of our franchisees in California here about a month ago at the California PTA, and after meeting him, Nan reaches out to me via text and she said, I met a guy, you need to talk to him, he needs to be on the podcast. So thank you, Nan, for the introduction. And Dave, welcome to the School Zone.
Thanks for having me, Matt.
So give us a little bit of background on you, where you came from, and how you got to where we are today talking about Read for My School.
Sure. I've been in about a little over 25 years in developing entertainment and education software. So I started out at games and for electronic arts and moved over to what was called in the mid-90s edutainment in a company called Mindscape, and started to develop mostly CD-ROM products. But there was a lot of digital aspects in the early 90s. The browsers started coming into effect, and migrated over since Mindscape was owned by Pearson, and Pearson is an education-based publisher in London. Started building education solutions, and whether it was kind of Common Core math, ELA, or supplemental that the teachers would use within the classroom, really started getting hooked into it. And so with this product that we're going to talk about today was a partnership with the Department for Education in Great Britain, where we were running a countrywide reading and writing challenge. And it was used within Pearson to really bring about a reading celebration and a give back program to schools and primary schools across England. And so I just got hooked on it and been doing it for about 6 years. And all of a sudden during this time, there was this emergence of peer-to-peer fundraising. And so I started seeing the kind of the alignment between what the program represented in a philanthropic way, and thought that, wow, there's some things and opportunities here in the US if we added some cool new features that align to peer-to-peer fundraising, that this could be a for-profit opportunity and an opportunity that every school can take advantage of. So the goal with Read for My School is simply this, is just how do you empower all communities to be able to create a dynamic and customized reading and fundraising challenge off of their phone? And being able to do it with minimal amounts of resources. And when I mean minimal amounts, I mean one.
Wow. I have a challenge getting my head around that, let alone actually making it happen like you've done over the last few years. So that's incredible. So let's break it down a little bit then. So obviously what you guys do is utilize reading to help further educate kids, most importantly, but then also help schools fundraise by encouraging that education that they're there for anyway.
Yeah.
I love the concept from the get-go because it directly supports exactly what they're doing in the schools already, right? Versus, hey, we've got this product or we've got this or that or whatever. It's, hey, let's encourage the kids to further read, which they need to be all doing anyway, and we can raise some money on the back of that as well. So
yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And I think the one thing you have to think about with fundraising is, to me, fundraising is all about storytelling. And whether you're selling products or whether you're selling chocolate and cookie doughs, it is a story that you're trying to tell the community that you're raising funds for. And with us, we want to do education-based fundraising. We want to tell a story that isn't necessarily aligned to products, but aligned to someone that you love, as was your child, and align it to something that's taught into the classroom. And because we believe storytelling is everything. And if you can connect that storytelling experience through, I believe, is a subject matter that's extremely difficult to get energy around with reading. If you can get kids to pick up a book and a bunch of them to read and be able to share that story, it's a much more powerful message to your donors.
So let's kind of break it up to the different pieces of this whole process. So to start with, let's talk about the school itself. How do they get involved? How do they implement your program? What does that look like from their aspect?
Sure. So whether it's a school administrator, PTA, PTO, all you have to do in 2 minutes is be able to set up the fundraiser, and it's dynamic. So you can name your fundraiser, you can set it to an end date, say how long I want to run it for, whether a week, 2 weeks, a month and a half, and then all of a sudden you basically set your event administrator password and profile. Once that's done, you're right on your dashboard, and your administrator dashboard gives you all the tools to be able to customize that experience. And when I say customize the experience, it's like there's a couple things. What's the story? You can upload an image, you can share a video, you can describe what you're doing, you can set up your fundraising objectives. Then the next that kind of truly separates us is, why don't we set some goals? Not only goals that are stretch level goals that all the teams, or in this case classrooms, can participate in, but what about individual student goals? And this is fundraising goals, reading minutes goals, reading books goals. So you're creating incentive for the people who are supporting your fundraiser, right? Because you want to generate that excitement with the kids. And then the topper is, how do you generate even more excitement? And that is through a challenge. You want to be able to set up a custom leaderboard, and you want to be able to track real time all of that progress. And as you're setting up these teams and kids are coming on and they're tracking their minutes, they are telling the story for you, and they're driving that excitement through the leaderboards. And so the one thing that was really exciting when we were doing it with the Department for Education is teachers coming to us and saying, I've never seen it so quiet in my classroom when they were reading, but yet the energy with which they dropped the book and went into the hallway, that was really where it was kind of like the water fountain conversation of whether or not the teams are beating other teams or how the kids are doing against other kids. Because at that age, they're naturally competitive, right? And that's the kind of energy that you want with fundraising. Things that you do with a jogathon, it's the same type of energy. But we want to apply it to something that has more of an educational focus. We want kids to pick up a book. We want them to enjoy and immerse themselves into it and then track it. And then through that kind of experience, they're driving team excitement as well as individual progress.
So then can they track by like classroom as well as by individual, and then of course by collectively the school, or how does that?
That's correct. And so as it's kind of a privatized Evite system, which all the teams are set up and the kids are reading minutes, you're able to track real time against donations at both a team level as well as an individual level. And then once they hit the individual goals that you set for them, either from the stretch goals or the individual goals, they unlock achievement badges. So you create that kind of fun reward kind of experience for them participating, because you got to get it exciting for the kids, right? You got to get them embracing it. And then once you do that, you're able to share even much more of a powerful story. So that they're working with their parents, they're tracking, they're unlocking their achievements, they're sharing it with friends and family. And that's truly the storytelling experience when I talk about fundraising that generates the excitement from the donors.
So from the kids' perspective, is this purely reading in the classroom where they're having time set aside, or can little Johnny decide, I'm going to be the reading king of the universe, and for the next 3 weeks, every waking hour, instead of watching TV or hopping on the video game, he decides that he's going to read? I mean, how does all that kind of shake
That's a great question, Matt, because one, you obviously, the most important thing is to get kids to read. Where they read and how they read. We are big believers in reading for pleasure. Whether it's in the classroom, but more importantly is, how do they leave the school and connect with their parents? A lost art right now is that being able to go away from the classroom and pick up the book and read with their parents or read independently. And doing that at home is very important. So to your question, they're able to track at school. A teacher can help them and track minutes, and if they did a collective reading. Or Johnny, as you're pointing out, can go home or go to the library, track the minutes independently, or do it with their parents. And I think that's a connection that is sometimes overlooked. And so many times that fundraising, when you think about it, is actually the event happens at the school. Well, not necessarily. We want to make sure that it leaves the school and goes home, because the more the kids read, the more they're enhancing their educational development, and that's truly what's more important.
Well, and I mean, we've all heard it said, readers are leaders, or leaders are readers, however you want to look at it. And so the goal is not just for little Johnny or little Susie to learn how to read, but ultimately to develop a lifelong love and habit of reading. And so this ties directly in with that, which I absolutely love. So how do they have the ability? So little Johnny, decides he's going to do X, Y, or Z as far as goals. How does he then go out and let everybody around him that's associated with him and his parents and his family know what his goals are, quote unquote, solicit donations or pledges? How does all that work?
Yeah, it's like not unlike other fundraisers like a jogathon. Everybody has a public donation page, and through their call of action of reading, they're tracking their minutes and in a sense telling their story. They're working with their parents to share that experience to donors or family and friends. And within the application itself, you have a variety of ways of sharing your donation page. Through SMS, you can copy and paste the link into anything. You can share it on Facebook, Twitter, or a personalized email. And that instant email or any of those social sharing functions gives a private link to their donation page, where they then have the donor engage with not only what Johnny's doing in terms of his reading record, his achievements that he's got, but also what's the story from a community level. Like we talk about the reader right now, but a lot of times is how do you actually touch on the pain points of the PTA and be able to manage a very large fundraiser with minimal amounts of resources. So sharing the community story is just as important, because the donor needs to understand not only Jimmy, but why are we doing this, right? Why is the community wanting to embrace a fundraising opportunity? A lot of times, and my child goes to school, they do like pass the hat or something that isn't necessarily connecting with the donors. And that's why storytelling is so important, not only from a personal level of the person you love, which is Johnny, but also why are we doing it from a school and a community perspective?
I assume you guys within the app and all that then have tools that allow them to do all those things, once they've got their page set up to push things out however they choose to do so.
Yeah, that's correct. So that within the donation page, I mean, there's a site where they track their reading and they can share it. But when donors go to their donation page and they see all of the storytelling elements, they're able to donate automatically, going and wiring all the information to the PTA bank account of choice. So from a PTA perspective, it's all about customizing the story, right? Setting the leaderboards, setting goals, making sure your teams are set up, managing it all within the device or a dashboard, and then being able to connect your bank account to our marketplace, which is Stripe Connect, so that when donations are coming through, it's automatically wired to your bank account. And not only that, is how do you manage the donor list? How do you manage these ongoing financial requests from your donors, where you instantly have that information real time within the app?
So I hopped on your app here a little while ago before we hopped on, and you have a pie chart there that kind of talks about, a $20 donation or pledge as an example, and breaks it down. 4% goes to Stripe for processing, obviously. And the example, 85%, I think, went to the school. I believe that there was an 11% piece of the pie that went to the kids or the reader. Is that correct?
Well, no, the 11% goes to us as an organization putting together the marketplace. The 4% is going to the obviously the credit card processing company, and the 85% going to the school.
Okay, gotcha.
And then the more that they fundraise, there is also cashback incentives. The more you fundraise, the more you get back. So a lot of times people do prizes.
Right.
We're more into, there's a lot of different prize opportunities, and we want to put money back into the schools because the people we talk to, everybody's got different prize structures. And
Right.
instead of offering prizes that might not align to everybody, it seems like if we offered cashback incentives with a good business proposition, that the school themselves, in a kind of a do-it-yourself or DIY kind of fundraising opportunity, can figure out a prize structure that works for their community.
Okay. Awesome. That's cool. Very, very cool. Man, I love this, Dave. I really, really, really do. And I also love the fact that here you partnered with the government in the UK to kind of validate all this and make it all happen, and then decided, okay, this worked over here. Let's bring this back to the States and allow at the school level to benefit. So that's really, really cool.
Yeah, it was interesting, Matt, because, working with the government and having all the primary schools reading and expressing their thoughts on it, it was a wonderful focus group. And it was a way for us to understand not only the administrative portion of running large-scale reading competitions, but also what are some of the features that the teachers are going to want. Sometimes you get engaged teachers who really want to participate. And then there's ones who just don't want to participate, but are willing to support in some low touch manner. And then also, what are the kids doing? And so those 5 years was an incredible focus group of just trying to figure out, okay, how do we bring the fun in? But then how do we bring the features that based on the user type, like the event administrator is the PTA. What are the pain points of the PTA to be able to run and administer a fundraising experience? And then you look at the teachers and you say, what are the types of things? Because we're a subject matter that's being taught in school, right? So you have to figure out what are the tools and features that a teacher is going to want to embrace a fundraising opportunity like this. And how do you bring the fun and engaging piece to get the kids motivated to pick up a book? And that was an incredible 5-year experience that really allowed us to kind of position the business rules around what we believe is a very innovative approach to fundraising.
So I can envision an already busy PTA mom or PTO mom who loves this idea, but they're not a technology guru like you are. Kind of walk through the dashboard and the setup, because it sounds daunting, but my guess is it's not at all.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, the one thing that coming from the education business into the fundraising marketplace, having people who are technically savvy, right? And when you look at software, it can be daunting, and you're like, oh my God, this is overwhelming. Is there a lot of things for us to do? And you'll quickly find once you build the fundraiser that once you're on the dashboard, it's very simple, very user-friendly. Within, I would say, 15 minutes, you've got a completely customized school-wide fundraiser, invites to teachers to get them onboarded, and you're in full control. But it is, software is software. You have to get used to it. And we want the lowest barrier to entry. So setting up your fundraiser is free. Using the fundraising app is free. We only make money when you do. So we want kids to pick up books. We want PTAs to be able to run fundraisers with one resource. We want the teachers engaged. And that, if you set one up and you set it up and say, I want to run it for 3 months, use the system, get used to it, figure out how to invite, and you're going to quickly find out how user-friendly it is.
So do you have a support team, as far as questions, that type of thing, or a series of videos that people can watch to get educated? How does some of that work?
Yeah, that's a great question. Support is everything when it comes to software. So yes, we have a variety of ways. The application is built up of a bunch of components that make the customization happen. And each one of those components has tooltips with training videos, so you know exactly what that specific feature is supposed to do for you. Also, in-app support, being able to instantly reach out to our support team and be able to communicate any type of question to us and be able to get a response right away within the app. So the next time you log in, you'll be able to see a notification that your question has been answered. And lastly, being able to have a do-it-yourself toolkit. There is nothing to be said about having a very complete toolkit that has all downloadable documents, FAQs, training videos, all in one place, because we believe that do-it-yourself fundraising is coming around the corner for fundraising. And having a toolkit where a non-technically savvy person can go get any answer that they want and be able to guide themselves to a customized reading and fundraising challenge within 30 minutes, that's our goal. But we're always available. Our support team's been around, and we do one-on-one webinars. We make sure that we handhold the people that might not be technically savvy, and then probably by the end of the webinar, they become that.
Awesome. Anything else, Dave, you want to share with the audience before we sign off?
You know, I think the biggest thing is around storytelling. You know, fundraising can be a challenge. It can be complicated. It can be overwhelming. And we want to make sure that there's an opportunity out there for people with all communities. And so in all communities with any type of mobile device is to be able to tell a fundraising story that is a little bit different. And, you know, we're in a marketplace where there's tons of products and there's tons of vendors. And what our belief and focus is on two things: improving childhood literacy skills and giving back to schools. And if we can do that across any type of device and empower people to do that for free, I think we're actually on the right track.
Guys, what's really, really important about this whole storytelling that Dave's talking about is, for those of you that are kind of wondering exactly what he means, think of this as like, you know, a GoFundMe campaign where you log on a page and they tell, okay, what are we raising money for? Why do you give? Or a Kickstarter campaign that they're raising money for a product. That's what he's talking about. And what I love about this is the fact that, yes, hopefully little Johnny and little Susie will tell their story, which is going to impact the people that they know best. But if for some reason they're not able or comfortable or whatever, at a minimum, your story that your organization has put together is going to be seen and heard. And in the process, I can't help but think that the effectiveness of what Read for My School has is much higher than many others out there because of that focus. Because you're not just relying on Johnny going home with a flyer and then hoping that they understand or know what it's for, or they take the time to read it or ask the questions. They're being seen, they're being shared that story with them from the get-go. And that's a really, really big deal. Dave, what's the best way for folks, if they want to learn more about you guys or reach out, what's the best way to do so?
Yeah, I think the best way to reach out is go to our website at www.readformyschool.com. And there you'll be able to find all the marketing messages around who we are, what we do, and how we can support you. And I think what you touched about earlier is very important. Services and support is everything. And if you have a question, ask it, and we'll be able to connect and guide you through the process, because hand-holding with technology is something that we're trying to make a really good effort to support the customer.
Dave Schenone, Read for My School, thanks for joining us in the School Zone today. Appreciate you taking time out to be here. And, man, have a great rest of the week, man.
Hey, you too, Matt, and stay cool in Houston, okay?
Yeah, we'll try. Something tells me it's a lot cooler up there in Seattle.
All right, you have a good one, okay?
All right, man, you too.
Okay, bye-bye.